Red Dead Redemption 2 took 5 years to develop. That's a lot of time to add hours and hours worth of content. And here we are just a few months shy of 7 years later, and players are still making brand new discoveries. And with a game this big, there are numerous connections that can be pieced together that tell different stories or further expand the lore. In this video, I'll be showcasing some of the best connections only keen-eyed fans have made in the world of Red Dead 2 since its release way back in October 2018. Dr. Ben Calloway out of Valentine runs a physician's office and allows the O'Driscolls to operate an illegal business in the back of his shop. But what I bet most players might not have known is that he is also the cousin of a famous gunslinger. It's someone Arthur is able to meet in one of the many stranger missions to choose from, as if the name wasn't already a dead giveaway. The old fart I'm referring to is Jimmy Boy Calloway. Yes, the Jimmy Boy Calloway.
But did you shoot the Newton twins?
I don't give a pig's penis about the Newton twins. Funny thing about pigs' penises, they're curly like their tails.
If memory serves right, Arthur can randomly enter the doctor's office in free roam, and he'll mention in one of the encounters that he's related to Jim Boy.
You know, Valentine's seen its fair share of famous gunslingers. My cousin Jim got into some scrapes here back in the day.
I don't know if we should tell him that we were the ones who were forced to euthanize his cousin. I don't know what it is, but I find red dirt to be very unsettling. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way. Don't ask me why, it's just my knee-jerk reaction to seeing it. So, needless to say, Chapter 3 of Red Dead 2 was my least favorite chapter. Yes, I'm afraid of red dirt. But something I found that's pretty crazy in this creepy-ass town is that Arthur has the opportunity to meet the Confederate officer that the statue in the middle of Rhodes is made in honor of. His name is HOBART CRAWLEY. You might have heard tell about him around town.
Make sure to pay your respects at the statue to fallen soldiers if you're going into town. Most folk walk by without so much as a glance.
See that statue outside? The one to fallen soldiers? Old Major CRAWLEY put it up. He sometimes pops in here, you know.
Or you might remember him from the mayor's party in Saint-Denis. The one where Bill pulled out his tux from prom.
That is Hobart Crawley, Confederate Major in the war.
Speaking of Confederate soldiers, we can find another one outside the general store in Rhodes, and he's a lot less annoying than that crippled carpetbagger, or should I say fake crippled carpetbagger. But what's really interesting about him is that there is a hidden camp interaction that reveals Tilly nearly robbed the soldier's mother, though it's not specifically mentioned that it's really him.
You had any luck in town?
I robbed a fella, and I was gonna rob a lady, but she began to cry, and I couldn't go through with it.
Why on earth not?
Said she needed the money. Her son had lost his leg in the war.
Fighting for the wrong side?
No doubt, but she was old, real old, and I felt bad.
Reckon she feels bad for the war?
I don't think she caused it any more than I did. She was just a woman, Karen. Normal, you know.
I don't see things like that.
I know. You see things simple and clear.
Clear, but not simple. Tell her she's gone soft in the head, Arthur.
I will do no such thing. Every moment, we all gotta make a choice. What's right and wrong.
You've gone soft, too.
Oh no, I would have robbed her blind, but that's me.
But let me know what you think. Is this who Tilly was really talking about, or was it just somebody else? Next is also something that can be left to interpretation. While acting as the new deputies for Sheriff Gray, Arthur and the gang follow the trail into the swamp to seek and destroy the Braithwaite's moonshine still. On the way there, that annoying bonehead Archibald will talk about his uncle, Reginald.
Trash begets trash, my Uncle Reginald used to say. He had one tiny hand, like a child's, on the end of a grown man's arm.
But it just may be possible to find Archibald's uncle in the small section of swamp between Shady Bale and the bridge into Saint-Denis. There is a rotting corpse we can spot that shows a disfigured man with a shriveled arm like the one Archibald described. But if this is really him, how in the world did he end up out here? I've made up a couple personal theories of my own. One is that since he was mentioned to be an alcoholic,
Could drink a sailor under the table before breakfast. He had a few stories, let me tell you. Town preacher and town sheriff.
maybe he stumbled out here blind drunk and was attacked by a gator or something, as indicated by those stumps. Or maybe Sheriff Gray wanted to replace him as sheriff and killed him, then dumped the body in the swamp. Archibald looks like the type that would have totally helped to get rid of him. He probably would have confessed at some point, though. Dude never knows when to shut the fuck up.
On like
This for years.
Please tell me you're almost done, Arthur.
In the picture show Man-Flight, the story revolves around the Kinnear family and their obsession with aviation. We are introduced to Aldous Kinnear, the father of Percival, and Charles Kinnear, who, if you didn't know, was someone John could meet in Red Dead Redemption 1, as part of the Strangers and Freaks missions. It's obvious the film is referencing Charles and his failed flight attempt from the first game, but it's not the only reference we can find. Now with the lore expanded, we know about Charles's father, who died in flight, and brother Percival, who also appears to have died in flight. Sky 3, Kinnear's 0. We can locate the potential corpse of Percival in the pine forests of Big Valley. And there's a final Easter egg in Cholla Springs, way off in the deserts of New Austin. Yet another crashed aircraft that resembles the one Charles created 4 years later in Red Dead Redemption 1.
The sooner you can witness the miracle of human flight.
Even his name is inscribed into the material. If it didn't work the first time, what on earth made him think it would work a second? Poor Kieran. This guy could never catch a break, man. A hidden interaction with Kieran at the Coulter camp will reveal his friends Declan and Fat Tommy from the O'Driscoll gang.
They'll come looking for me, you know.
Or maybe they'll come looking for those O'Driscoll boys we killed at that ranch down the way.
Who was that? Declan? Fat Tommy?
We didn't get as far as introductions.
Later in the story, when Sadie recruits Arthur for her revenge tour, you'll learn that the man she is hunting down is the fat boy Kieran was so concerned about. If players choose to return to the cabin to loot Fat Tommy, a letter written by COLM from jail can be read. It tells nothing too interesting until we come to near the end of the letter when COLM mentions that he was most likely set up by a disloyal, loudmouth woman. Her name is never said, but his gang knows who he's speaking of, and from what the evidence infers, I'd be willing to bet that this was Molly O'Shea. Maybe he just didn't want anyone else to know it was her in case she ran back to Dutch. He wanted to be the first to make this bitch pay. Sorry, that was too far. Molly's not a bitch. She's just an annoying one. In Molly's absence, no one knows where she ran off to until one day, Uncle brings her stumbling back into camp, blind-ass drunk. She was in Saint-Denis, the same place COLM is arrested around the same time. If I have any experience of how love works, she tried to make Dutch jealous by sleeping with COLM. The word disloyal, and maybe loudmouth were the dead giveaways for me at least. Just all the pieces of the puzzle fit. Let me know what you think about this theory. Was Molly a cheater or just an idiot? Ominous cabins in the middle of nowhere is what Red Dead does best. How could one refuse exploring? Curiosity is in human nature as much as killing each other. The cabin at Martha SWAIN tells a sad story of love and war. The corpse on the floor of the cabin is Martha, a Yankee woman in love with a Johnny Reb. The further you investigate this love story, the more you can unveil. The Confederate she was in love with can be found near the BOLGER GLADE battlefield, except old Garfield ain't looking too good himself nowadays either. For the relationship he had with a Northerner, he was executed on account of treason. Now as to just how Martha met her fate is unclear. Was she also killed by the rebels? Did she end her own life? Was it illness? Or just old age? The world may never know. Oh man, I never get tired of talking about it. The man, the myth, the absolute fucking legend, Josiah Blackwater. Inspired by the real-life folklore American badass, Davy Crockett. I'm from Texas, so you know Davy Crockett is a hero of mine. As the moving picture show in Valentine informs the audience, Josiah was raised in a log cabin outside of Annisburg. The cabin is seen to be along the bank of a river, exactly how Davy Crockett was raised in. But since it's mentioned to be an in-game location, is it possible to track down Josiah's old cabin? The answer is you better bet your sweet ass you can. A few yards away from Butcher's Creek are the remains of an old homestead. This was the childhood home of the founder of Blackwater. If you are brave enough to venture out into the Roanoke Hills and face the consequences,
y'all knew this was Murphy Hills. You should be careful where you're camping.
You'll run into this old grave marker for a large group of workers. It was pretty common that railway constructors couldn't be bothered to know everyone's name that passed away and would often bury workers in mass graves, especially due to diseases like cholera. And what do we find further down the trail? Yup, an abandoned railway camp. I always thought that this was due to Native American retaliation, since there are signs that this was a sacred, or at least an important area to the first inhabitants here. But the theory of disease seems much more plausible, and the condition of the camp degraded over time from looting and natural elements. At last, we've reached our final point, and it's one of my favorite Easter eggs in the game. Our first clue takes us to the dry, arid landscape of Rio Bravo, but not in Red Dead 2. This first clue can only be found 4 years later in 1911. Near the base of Repentance Rock, players will see a piece of tan leather spread out on the ground with some decorative stones and symbols painted on the hide. It's until you locate the Mescalero Reservation in Henniganstead that things begin to make much more sense. The TP symbol represents the reservation. The dial represents the medicine wheel on the campgrounds, and if you stand in the middle of the wheel, you'll be directed towards the rising sun by one of the lines. But what about the bear paw? Was that all boo? The arrow points towards a bear track, just as the rocks point to the rising sun. Follow the lines directly east, and you'll find an abandoned settlement known as Bear Claw Camp. Here's where you'll find out just what happened to the settlers. Most likely they started building on the land the Mescalero tribe didn't want them to, and well, you see just how that turned out. So why was there a tan animal hide in the middle of the desert with all this information on it? The answer could be as simple as in the name of the place. Repentance Rock could also be known as a sacred place where people burdened with their sins come to seek repentance, obviously. Maybe one of the tribesmen regretted the murder of the innocent settlers and came to confess his shame and attempt to ease his conscience. Let me know what you guys think. Alright folks, what did you guys think of this video? Liked it? Give it a thumbs up. Want to suggest something or call me an obscenity? Leave a comment. Want to see content like this and más? All you gotta do is hit subscribe. Thanks for watching this video and adios freaks.
Right about that time, he met an Indian girl he took pity on account of having annihilated her family. She was 12 years old, and so he took her as his wife.